and then begin to build it into a living, breathing experience, which is translatable between this inner and outer environment. So the inner environment is your meditation, your seat, the depths of the well, and the outer environment is all of the action that you're engaged with. Because I believe what we're looking for on a very general level is consistency. What is constant, right? We've established this where change is challenging for people. Transformation is easier for us to understand and work with, but transformation generally comes when things become constant. So it's in being able to reveal at the source point what is the spike and potentially what is the fall. Right at the source point. So just getting used to understanding the sensation of smiling then answers all of the questions that exists within this conversation. All that contemplation can actually be developed within this subtle sensation and relationship to it. So this is why contemplation is a big piece of the wisdom tradition and within the yogic practice. So it's not thinking. Thinking is thinking. Contemplation is something that is much deeper, and it generally is connected to an intention, and that intention is generally driven by wisdom, and that wisdom is anchored within a thirst for understanding. Who am I? Where am I going? Why am I here? Balance, happiness, freedom. And all of these 6 things tend to arrive with consistency. So if you go to a monastery, things are very structured to facilitate that. You know what's coming next, so then you can just slow yourself right down and become aware of a different level of spiking. So we're not any longer operating at the same levels and rates. We're dropping into ourselves that much more so that we can increase our ability to detect the subtlety. And this is one way that someone achieves self-realization, is through challenging themselves at those different places. And this self-realization, then over time, the big bells go off, dong, this concept of enlightenment. First realizing oneself, and then how oneself then relates to the rest of the world. And then through that relationship to the rest of the world, then those dong start to go off. So asking the question, what makes you smile, is a very easy access point into all that you do. And once you become strong there, you can explore into what makes you angry. Why do you get angry or sad or whatever it may be? So all of the emotions that exist within the experience of your meditation have an opportunity to reveal themselves before you sit. Which does 2 things. Clears the way so that when you're going into your seat, you are deepening the experience of your meditation and reaching higher states of frequency or vibration within that meditation. But it also takes your meditation into the rest of the world. And that's kind of a theme that we've been working with for a while now. taking your meditation into the rest of the world. So that then there's consistency. It becomes constant. This incredible thread. Like a mala. So a mala bead, 108. Our experiences that we have become the beads of the mala, but what is consistent is that subtlety. It's the string, those sensations. So how to make those sensations fine enough that I can relate to it and work with it just simply with myself. And the less impact that I have on the world around me, then the stronger my relationship becomes with that world. Because what's going out is now pure expression of the intention, the real reason why I'm saying, the real reason why I'm doing, the real reason why I'm being, rather than connected to an emotion that's charged. So our ability to get into that emotion and soften it is then one by one, almost like layer by layer, going into that sensation of subtlety. And this is what meditation does. If you feel that your meditation is holding you, that you keep returning to that one spot, well, you're correct. It actually is. And the solution is to increase in the subtlety. So you guys know what I mean when I say that? So what I mean is that you sitting here right now, you have a sensation. Of course, it's positive. You feel so good right now. And now, if you were to take that which you feel and see if there's anything else that's there, any more depth, but just within that which you are experiencing right now. Any more depth here. And how we do that is through the physical, the energetic, and the mental bodies. Just surrendering a little bit, letting go, and then re-engaging with that sensation. So immediately when I do that, there is a shift. And I can't help it, but my eyes soften. It's really challenging to hold hardness and find subtlety at the same time. So in that relationship, you're enabling yourself to connect to the experience which is occurring both on the inner and the outer on a finer level, a deeper level. Which then my speech changes as well as I soften here. My mind space shifts, which gives me access to an increased intelligence. Because I'm no longer holding myself to a confined reality that says, I must do it this way because that's what it is, right? When we sit in meditation, we're holding ourselves, body posture, breathing pattern, and that relationship between the two is really the framework that begins to build in order to have a very specific thought. So it's a holding. So when we release the body, we soften the breathing. The mind has no choice but to follow because the three are so closely connected. Some of you are stubborn and you will just muscle it back into that holding pattern. But over time, it just softens, softens, softens. And what is expressing itself is a newfound depth of your intelligence. As we have responses and we have reactions. And a reaction is generally emotionally charged. And you could be right. Generally you are right. But it's emotionally charged. Which then unfolds with some sort of ramification out into the world around you. With response, it's now almost in a very quick way, contemplation occurs before you put forth an action. And that contemplation develops a response that is not losing any of the integrity, but instead giving validity to that which you are wishing to express. Now you're giving validity to it, so that then now you are heard. But we hear on so many levels. So imagine what the subconscious is up to, listening in on all this conversation. Right? There's much more activity that's happening in the unknown rather than the known. And what's really interesting about all of this is that we do not want to superimpose it. So I can give you guys this practice and you're like, I really like this smiling idea. So then you put all of this work and effort to attempt to emulate that piece of instruction. But because it's being superimposed, it's not yielding the fruits that we are wanting out of it. So the solution to that eagerness which we experience is to become very real with where we are. And all of you are really beautifully placed for a flourishing meditation practice. You get food every day, you have shelter, you probably have a nice, cozy, warm place to sit. Maybe it's ideal, maybe it's not, but it's warm and cozy, I'm sure. Sometimes. If you have one of these mats, then anywhere. You put your mat anywhere. Meditation carpet. But what begins to happen is that we allow ourselves just to be ourselves. So whatever's inside there, it doesn't matter what's inside there, because we want to just be that. Let it all be that. And allow the smile to naturally begin to emerge. And what you might find, and this is what I find, is that you begin to smile at yourself for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes you're funny, sometimes you're ridiculous, sometimes it's just plain silly. Maybe you're angry, or maybe you're sad. But what I've noticed is that what is consistent is my ability to smile at myself through all of it. And that is this tipping point for a meditation practice, but also a tipping point for self-development, self-understanding, self-realization. Is this ability to see yourself in such a way that you are no longer tricking, that you are no longer saying things because someone said this is what you're supposed to say to get what you want. You're no longer taking these practices because, well, this guru said it was a good idea, or that guru, or you saw it on Dr. Oz, and Dr. Oz always brings on great guests, and they always have good meaning to it. So we're eliminating all of that. And what's happening is that you are actually becoming that person who is on Dr. Oz, or you're becoming that great teacher, or that great method. Because now you are taking it from the step that everybody else takes it from, and that's getting real. Just real. And then with an opportunity to move with it. And that movement is what we enjoy so much, right? Change, out. We do not enjoy change. Movement, love. We love movement. Movement is great. It's been around within the yogic process for a very long time. Sitting by the river. Sitting by the river in and of itself is a contemplation. It's just moving, it's forever changing. But what is beautiful is that you have a river that's built inside of you. You have a physical river, you have all this fluid that's just flowing around you all the time, moving. You have an energetic river, breathing in and out. It's on a loop, it's a bit of a loop river. But you have this mental river, and that's really what I'm getting at, is that on a continuous basis you have the river. And it's the river of thought, and it just moves. So now you choose where you're sitting within that river. Are you sitting on the bank? Or are you holding onto the log? Or are you holding onto the rock? You get to choose where you're sitting. And if we can start to see our thought pattern, process, experience like a river, we never see the same river twice. If you're really looking at it from a subtle place, right? Because the water is just flowing. But that loop that happens, that little lapping, that's a constant. But within that constant, there is a movement of transformative change. I said it. Change. It changes subtly every single time you do it. Just like your meditation practice. Just like the smiling contemplation. It changes ever so subtly every single time you engage with it. And that consistency is what we're looking for. Every day, little by little, by little, by little, which makes it very real. Because it eliminates this 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of mentality. And it's just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, constant. And this is meditation in motion, as they say. It's dynamic and still all at the same time, right? Someone wants stillness, they go sit by the river, but there's nothing still about the river. But what comes off of the river, that even more subtle than the lapping or than the flow of the water, is that feeling that you get from sitting at the river. And that's again an even finer element of the essence of the experience. Alex smiling. Any questions? Okay, I think let's close our eyes. We'll have a little bit longer sit today, which is nice. Keeping the eyes closed, let's bring full, deep breaths into the body. Bring the gaze into this space just there in front of you. Notice the subtlety that exists there. Ever so subtle. Softening the gaze, slowly, gently allow the eyes to open. Now, did you feel that? And I can say this with the utmost confidence because something definitely happened in there. All kinds of things happened. Some of us heard this suggestion of noticing the smile, so immediately we would take it on. Others heard it, but noticed that, it's not there. Others again heard it, decided to take it on, noticed, wait a minute, I'm doing that superimposing thing. So everything is happening. And that's very important to begin to recognize what is that initial movement. What is it that you do first? And then begin to recognize that you're doing that. And then take it into the person who knows the most about you and really weigh it and say, is this authentic action that is occurring? And what's revolving around this increasing subtlety, to begin to notice that smile which emerges within your meditation, is things like becoming content. And that's a huge piece of a developing meditation practice. But what exists around this ability to be content is a concept called Shaucha, shaucha, which is purity. Purity from the inside, meaning physically, inwardly, but also purity inside from the mind perspective. So the ability to develop a mind which is clean, which is pure in its thought and pure in its instruction. And that relationship between becoming content and the ability to rest within some aspect of purity within your mind becomes very closely related. But in order to achieve that purity, we have to enable ourselves to sit in an element of discomfort, which is called tapas. And this ability to rest in an element of discomfort comes in so many different ways. I mean, within minutes, because there's many of us sitting here, so it all happened at different times, we become a little bit uncomfortable with our body. And just simply recognizing the discomfort for what it is actually tapas. And developing that relationship, not just with the body, but also with the mind, gives way to this becoming content with what is. Another relation to this developing ability to be content is svadhyaya. Svadhyaya means self-study. So the ability to look at oneself just very clearly, very soberly, that which is occurring within one's mind. And then the last one, which I really enjoy, is this concept of, just recalling the Sanskrit right now. It's coming to me right. Svadhyaya Ishva Pranidhana. Thank you. And that's devotion to a higher form of self. So devotion meaning that you're recognizing that there's something that which is greater than you in this operating mind, which is doing all the thinking. It's the component of the mind which keeps giving the answer to the question that you have from this lower operating mind. So all of that combined, this purity, this contentment, this ability to rest into that which is uncomfortable, this ability to analyze oneself from a very simple, pure, kind place, and our willingness to recognize that there is something greater than the operating mind. Something greater than the operating mind is the suggestion that is given within the yogic process of Raj Yoga, which has been really developed by a sage by the name of Patanjali as a simple suggestion to achieving samadhi, which is a very high level of absorption within oneself, and becomes the recipe to become fully established within what is that which makes you smile. It's the simple ease. So sometimes I say something not right, which is funny. Sometimes I do things which are not right, which is also funny. And all of these little things make me smile. This is your meditation. You close your eyes and so many things happen inside there. One moment it's quiet, one moment it's loud, one moment it's quiet, one moment it's loud. It all means something. And it's not always what you think it means. It doesn't mean that, oh, I don't know how to meditate. It means much more than that. The simple fact is that when you close your eyes and you witness the activity that is your practice of meditation, and to achieve the ability to have that inner smile is then to actually gain strong headway. but to achieve it. And that's all these little steps within the meditation process, is we want to achieve it. We don't want to just know it. I mean, I'm sure all of you can tell me so much about so many things, and I would remember all of that. But that doesn't mean that I know it. It doesn't mean that I understand it. So we want to understand ourselves. What else are we doing? There's nothing else to do. There's just simply one thing. And you just move yourself from place to place to place, different aspects of beauty, just getting to know one person. Alrighty. Any final questions? Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Have a wonderful evening.